Good morning, friends of the channel. Where are we today, Emma? In a kitchen that's already been done. Already seen. Well, not all of it, the walls, the corridor, a few things. But since I'm a bit unpredictable when it comes to restyling, just there, I've got a bit bored. Ever since I decided to discontinue the sugar paper, this idea's been going round in my head. Stefano, of course, tells me to take a break, relax for a bit, enjoy what you've colored. But it's not that I don't like it, I love it. But it's already a bit updated. So I thought, as I'm removing the sugar paper, why don't we also paint this kitchen? I hate it because it's incredibly shiny. Let's kill two birds with one stone. We'll change the color of this glossy unit, which needs protecting from wear and tear. I'll show you that 2 protective coats are more than enough. You are used to applying 3 or 4, but you don't need them. I'll show you how well the wall has held up, because after 2 years of cooking, recooking, and recooking again, fish, sauces and splashes, there isn't even a single stain. And you know, I enjoy cooking. I'm changing it because I'm fed up with the color. Obviously, I haven't put any water repellent or other repellents on the wall because you don't need to. The wall is already highly water repellent. So, in today's tutorial, we're going to show you how we paint a kitchen the same color as the wall, because I got fed up and it will change from glossy to opaque and from white to blue. Let's start. As usual, the first thing to do is to wash properly with our bar, hot water, baking soda and ammonia. I'll do it here in the sink and I'll change the water until it'll be clean. So I'll wash and rinse many times. Of course, I also clean the wall painted with Magic Wall, and as Clarissa is showing you now, up close, up close, up close, I want to see if you can find even a single stain of oil, grease, or sauce. There isn't any, because as I always tell you, the wall is really very water repellent and protective. You save money on tiles, you don't need to put tiles in, but the fact is, do as I do, if you get tired of that color, you can change it, and you'll always have a splashback that looks brand new. So, well done Arbar, hot water, baking soda, ammonia in this lovely sink, and everything gets cleaned properly.
I've got a bucket filled with clean water and a well-wrung cloth ready, and now I'm going to rinse everything.
Now we have to remove the handles from the other doors and also from the various drawers. However, due to the rather limited space available, I will work with the drawer still in place, so please don't do this. Only do it if you really have no space at all. This kitchen is a bit small, so I prefer to work on these 3 drawers like this. And voila, super organized, ready to go. Doors removed, handles off, screws safely stored, and I've already numbered the back of the doors to mark their positions. Don't forget to do that. We've put tape on the left door, but not on the right one. Today, I have very few doors, so I'll be done quite quickly. If you have lots of doors, make sure to number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, top and bottom, don't forget. One thing we're going to do today, since we're using paint on a super glossy kitchen, and we want it to last for many years, at least until you get bored of it again, is to add a bit of protective coating to the paint instead of water. That's how I do it. I'm adding a bit of protective coating to the pepper blue, in this case the satin one, which is the one I'll be using later. I've put in about 2 tablespoons and I'm mixing it very well. This will be the dilution for the color, so yes, you've understood correctly, I don't dilute it. When you're painting tiles or any super glossy surfaces, especially in a period like this where it's not yet really warm, but not cold either, and you can still feel the humidity, especially because of the rain. It's best not to dilute with water. I make the paint slightly more slippery and viscous to use with the roller, thanks to this little trick. So, I'll definitely use the whole can, but I don't think I'll need much more. One should be enough. Now that I've mixed the whole can with the protective coating, I'm going to pour my paint into the tray. Always remember that the roller, whether it's new or old, doesn't matter. It always needs to be taped. In this way, any loose fibers that need to come off will lift and be removed, so they won't end up settling on the paint. Okay, this step is very important. Now I pour the paint into the tray, almost all of it. I leave a little bit in the can, because if I need to use it for doing some edges, I've already got it ready. One important thing, in this kitchen, I've decided that the only part I'm painting completely blue is the sides, the edges. And it's just that little cabinet there, those two ones, because I want them to blend in with the wall. On the lower part, however, I'm leaving the white edges as they are. Why? Because this kitchen has loads of white finishes, like the sockets on the walls, they're all ice white. I like them, so I want to have an ice white accent, and anyway, the worktop is light as well. So for this reason, I'm going to start straight away with the doors, but I won't do the edges on the lower part. Today I won't wet the roller with water, because I've got a really glossy surface. I'd rather not do it, but I do need to fill it properly. I used a long pile roller, yes, and why? Because it leaves fewer marks, it holds more paint, and I really like it. Always remember that long pile and medium pile rollers don't leave more marks. Quite the opposite, in fact. If you use a short pile roller and go over the same spot, it dries in the meantime, and you end up leaving more marks. Medium and long pile rollers leave fewer marks on a surface, especially on a glossy one like this one. It self-levels even better. Obviously, one single coat won't be enough. It's always going to require at least 2 coats. The first coat ensures that you get perfect adhesion across the whole surface. When you see that the roller's got nothing left to give, reload it. I'm not reloading it now because I've reached the end of the cupboard door. What do? I go over it again at this point because there's still a bit of product, and I do the edges. Like this. As you can see, the paint is starting to self-level. It won't end up bumpy, but it's crucial that the first coat is a good primer, so please don't sand it. That habit we often have of automatically smoothing the surface between one coat and the next is useless. Only smooth the surface if you really have build-ups or issues, otherwise, don't do it between coats. I'll carry on. While I finish all the cupboard doors, Emma is starting to do the edging on the top part for me. I want this all blue, even on the parts visible from the outside. We're using the architect's brush, which is very precise, and then we'll go over it with the roller to finish off. The first coat is completely dry. It's been 1 hour, but I've aimed the hot hairdryer at it and I've got the heating on at 23 degrees Celsius. So be aware, this room is very dry. Second coat now, total coverage. Of course, I'm not diluting the paint, just as I didn't for the first coat. And look at this fantastic coverage. The color is absolutely gorgeous, rich, and I'm applying it just a bit thicker so it's self-leveling and 100% covering. I carefully remove all of the excess paint, make sure that I do the edges properly, and then I simply leave it for a while to dry. While I am busy getting on with the second coat, Emma starts working on the main wall. She is using a long pile roller. Did you choose the 10 or the 12 one?
The smaller one.
We haven't got much surface to do today, so the small one will do for us. The same one we use on the furniture. Here as well, I start by loading the roller well, then I offload it slightly and go straight onto the stencil. Because with the long pile roller, the bristles get right into the depths, so I don't need the brush. It's time to protect. I've achieved the perfect color, so I don't intend to add any color to the protective coat. But do you know why I'm telling you this? Because sometimes, when you've applied 2 coats and there are still some slight streaks, you can add a little bit of color to the first coat of protective coating. It emphasizes the coverage, but I don't need that, and I've already diluted it with a bit of water. I pour enough into my roller tray and share it with Emma. She'll carry on with the Elizabeth brush and will do all the edges for me, and I'll do all the rest with the roller as before. I always use a long pile roller, especially in a very dry environment, and I work really quickly to spread everything out. Don't overload this roller, mind you, when you're applying it. When applying the protective coating, it is important to remember that you mustn't press down. You need to give the roller plenty of time to spread the product and to self-level. That's absolutely vital. We start from the center and begin spreading, making sure that we are applying the main amount of protective coating in the first areas. Then, to avoid any unwanted marks or streaks, I also do a cross-rolling like this, which really spreads it out evenly. I can then carefully go over the surface at the end to smooth everything out properly without any kind of imperfections. So I go over it quite once more to even it out and make sure I've spread it all perfectly evenly. Once I've finished the top part, I then move on to the sides. Now, at this point, I don't go over it again because I leave the protective coating time to self-level. This way, I won't end up with a rough surface. I'll have a velvety surface and the protective layer won't have any marks at all. So, please, don't get hung up on going over it too many times because it's not necessary. Now I'll carry on quite quickly. I'll definitely apply 2 coats because I want a slightly stronger protection, since it's a kitchen, but only 2.
The wall is dry, the first coat is dry, so I'm going in with the second coat. Same principle, long pile roller, and just look at that coverage.
This makeover is finished now, so let's say we didn't show the fitting of the handles, the reinstallation of the doors, or the reinstallation of the skirting board. Well, how many tutorials are already on our channel about kitchens? Quite a few. If you're on YouTube, there's a playlist dedicated to all the kitchens painted with magic paint. There's the more classic, light kitchen. There's the classic kitchen that gets a bit of a refresh with Vein Brawl. There's the glossy white kitchen that becomes contemporary with pepper blue. There are also other videos. They are very important and interesting about kitchen tiles, bathroom tiles. So do have a good look at the tutorials we suggest before tackling a kitchen, also because I know that many of you choose the kitchen as your first project, and I wouldn't recommend it, not for any other reason, but because there are a number of things to consider. You won't be able to eat at home for the entire time the kitchen is dismantled. It needs to be cleaned very thoroughly. There are drying times to take into account, and there are spaces that are completely different. As you can see, today I've worked on the drawers and on this cupboard door, which couldn't be removed, so working vertically like this is more difficult. Many people don't have enough space, don't bother to take things apart and work vertically, which creates loads of flaws. Why? Because when you use a roller vertically, you apply a different pressure. It's not like when you roll horizontally, where it's much easier, and above all, you get a more even finish. So I strongly advise you to listen to me and not to choose the kitchen as your first project. Do it as your second project at least. Do a bedside table or a small table first, just to get the hang of it. And above all, don't try to save those €10 by buying a roller, a brush, or a tray just because it's a bit cheaper, because I assure you it really does make a difference. The right roller with the right bristles and the right brush make all the difference. Often, when we do DIY, we just grab brushes that look nice. Oh, look at this one. What lovely soft bristles, but that's a mistake. Because in the 90% of cases, those soft bristles aren't suitable for magic paint, as magic paint is a thick paint. In fact, even magic paint brushes that are meant for the protective coat are not recommended for applying the color. So please, listen to me. If you want a good result, you need to follow the guidelines, especially because, look, here I've used a can of pepper blue and a can of protective coating, and in case you hadn't noticed, there's also a table here done using the same method. So yes, 1 can 4. Everything, including the skirting board, and it worked out fine. Before, it was brown and you just couldn't stand looking at it anymore with all that blue around, so it's definitely a saving. Out of the 4-liter can of wall paint, how much did you use?
Not even half.
Probably the 2.5-liter would have been more than enough. So let's remember, we applied 2 coats. We went from a very light color to a very dark one, completely solid, clean and smooth. So obviously 2 coats are needed, but you need to understand that. You'll be able to wipe it down with a damp cloth if you splash sauce or anything else and clean it without any worry or fear that it'll come off. Obviously, the kitchen won't be used for a while now because it needs to cure properly. Also, today there were 3 of us, you, me and Clarissa, who's filming, but of course she dries everything brilliantly and helps us with the really high parts because she's very tall and the 2 of us worked on the kitchen. So Emma mainly did the wall, I mainly did the kitchen, but we helped each other out. So, is it doable in a day? Yes, but don't use it. It needs to cure, even the wall needs to cure. What does that mean? It needs time to become nice, rigid and solid throughout. I'll be coming here at Easter, so I'll use it then, not before, in about 15 days. So please, if you paint a kitchen, wait at least 2 or 3 days before cleaning and using it, otherwise it could be a problem, alright? I'd use it myself, but be careful, don't splash sauce everywhere, or whatever, I don't know, boiled spinach, it's up to you, wherever you like.
You can find Magic Paint on the website www.magicpaint.it, where you'll also find all the Italian retailers who stock it. There's a retailers section with a map where you can see the retailers divided by region, or you can type your city into the search bar and see everything that's nearby.
The province might change, but it's not far.
Exactly.
Where can't you find Magic Paint?
On Amazon.
Avoid those cheap chains, even if they seem fine initially. Once scratched, I'll be here, okay. Goodbye.